Never accept a lost sister no one remembers as the heir. This isn't legacy, it's larceny. The Quartermaine circus continues, and once again, the writers seem determined to confuse a convoluted scam with compelling storytelling. Let's begin with Drew, who apparently believes intimidation and manipulation are substitutes for character depth. His attempt to drag Alexis into his mess while conveniently invoking Sam's memory is laughable. If Sam were still around, she'd remind him that any deal excluding Danny was dead on arrival. Drew should be counting his blessings. She isn't here to witness the way he's treating her son. He wouldn't survive the tongue lashing. Now enter the mysterious Veronica Bard. Or rather, the ghost of Veronica Bard. Martin conveniently finds a letter in Drew's house, which sparks the not-so-minor issue that the real Veronica has been deceased for years. So who exactly is Ronnie? A grieving sister, or Drew's hand-picked imposter recruited to swindle the Quartermaine fortune? Given that not a single family member had ever heard of this long-lost sibling, the latter seems more likely. Speculation spirals from there. Who shot Drew? The most outrageous theory points to Scout, Sam's daughter and Danny's sister, who apparently knows the Quartermaine mansion like the back of her hand and could have snuck in, retrieved the gun, and vanished. The supposed small shadow and mysterious ringtone almost make it sound plausible. Almost. Meanwhile, Carly in a wig and a false identity is floated as yet another red herring. Because what's one more disguise in a show already drowning in them? Back to the main plot. Tracy Quartermaine, the eternal scapegoat. Of course she didn't spike Ronnie's tea. Martin, however, is looking guiltier by the day. He produces the letter, manipulates the will, and wheels in Ronnie for a staged family reunion. Tracy insists Monica would never disinherit her family for a stranger, and she's right. Yet everyone turns on her anyway, preferring to believe the word of a supposed sister over an actual Quartermaine. The irony is rich. Monica's legacy, decades of history, love, and dysfunction, is now being tossed aside for a storyline so flimsy it should come with a warning label, and the family, blinded by misplaced loyalty, piles on Tracy, while the true con artist goes unchecked. Not that Erica Slezak's arrival hasn't been a bright spot. Watching her spar with Jane Elliott has been pure soap opera gold. Two legends elevating material that doesn't deserve them. Ronnie may be a dubious character, but Slezak's performance has been magnetic. If nothing else, her scenes prove that daytime television can still deliver moments worth rewinding. Yet even brilliance can't distract from the absurdity of the Will storyline. If Martin really is behind the entire charade, drugging, forgery, manipulation, then at least it's consistent with his brand of smug opportunism. But if the writers intend to spin Ronnie into some misunderstood victim, that too will ring hollow. And so, the questions linger. Will Tracy finally expose Martin's scheme? Will Alexis find a backbone instead of enabling Drew's power plays? And most importantly, will the writers ever stop desecrating Monica's memory with nonsense plots? Team Tracy remains the only rational stance. She may be abrasive, but at least she isn't stupid. Someone has to protect the Quartermaine legacy, because clearly, no one else is interested. Here's what they don't tell you about Monica's goodbye. It isn't about real estate at all. When a soap veteran like Erica Slezak is invited onto General Hospital and paired with the incomparable Jane Elliott, it isn't just stunt casting. It's an acknowledgement that Monica Quartermaine's farewell demands something weightier than a slideshow of past clips at a funeral. This isn't about housing disputes or petty inheritance games. It's about grief, about Tracy losing not only the Quartermaine estate, but the last living connection to a woman she loved, fought with, and endured for 45 years. Yesterday's episode captured that devastation with ruthless clarity. Tracy's lament, "All I got was a jar of relish." That is cruel, and Monica wasn't cruel. Cut deeper than mere property squabbles. She wasn't furious about losing the mansion. She was furious about losing Monica. These two were the final survivors of the show's golden era, and her anguish deserved more than a perfunctory goodbye. In that sense, Slezak's arrival was brilliant casting, giving Elliot a sparring partner strong enough to match the rawness of Tracy's grief. Of course, this is a soap opera, so speculation abounds. Ronnie may end up selling the mansion back to Tracy for $1, or Martin may have faked the will altogether. Perhaps Monica's true intentions will be revealed in one of those time-honored tropes, a hidden codicil, a secret flash drive tucked inside the infamous jar of relish. After all, Edward once used relish as a plot device to save ELQ. If that condiment could rewrite corporate history, why not Monica's legacy? But dismissing this arc as another tired, long-lost relative scam would be a mistake. There is emotional weight here, particularly in how Ronnie has been used as a stand-in for Monica, reciting the matriarch's final thoughts to each family member since Leslie Charleson was unable to film. Whether Ronnie herself is complicit in Martin's schemes or merely a pawn remains unclear, but she embodies Monica's lingering presence, keeping her voice alive in the narrative. Not everything landed. Olivia's public decree that Tracy wasn't welcome at the Metro Court was a tone-deaf display, one that underscored her own lack of empathy. It was petty, cruel, and unnecessary. Tracy, should she reclaim the house, would be well within her rights to pack up Olivia's lasagna pans and send her on her way. And while Brooklyn and Olivia's reactions read almost cavalier, they betrayed a lack of understanding of true loss. Those who have buried lifelong companions recognized Tracy's fury for what it was, grief masquerading as anger. Then there was Erica Slezak herself. Her arthritis was unflinchingly visible on screen, and instead of hiding it, she allowed the camera to capture it. In an industry obsessed with eternal youth, this choice was profound. It reminded viewers that time is inevitable, even for icons, and it offered comfort to those aging alongside her. In that moment, she was more powerful than any character she could play, an actress willing to show the truth. Compared to Monica's arc, Bobby Spencer's farewell was handled with a different kind of grace. Bobby's send-off featured the return of BJ, angelic guidance for Carly and Felicia, a nod to her humanitarian work, and even a lasting change to the canvas, with Kelly's renamed in her honor. Monica's goodbye, by contrast, is shaping up as a slower burn, less spectacle, more meditation on legacy, memory, and family fractures. In some ways, Bobby's exit felt like a hero's parade. Monica's, a prolonged elegy. The trouble, as always, lies with the writers. Their track record inspires little confidence that this story will avoid collapsing into cliché. Yet the actors, Elliot, Slezak, and the rest, are carrying it with enough gravitas to make it matter. If the show allows the arc to conclude with genuine warmth, perhaps Tracy learning that Monica left her the mansion as a final gesture of love, then this will stand as a fitting tribute. What's certain is that Monica Quartermain deserved more than a montage. She deserved a story that reflected the depth of her character and the history she embodied. And for once, General Hospital seems to understand that. Michael didn't break Port Charles. Willow did. And here's the proof. The debate over Michael Corinthos has reached fever pitch, with some branding him a villain, while others insist he's simply adapting to the cesspool he was born into. But let's be honest, Michael was never the choir boy the show occasionally pretended he was. What we're witnessing now isn't a descent into darkness, it's a belated acknowledgement of who he has always been. First, the case for his so-called evil. He's manipulative, calculating, and unafraid to twist the rules when it suits him. This is the man who bribed politicians to nail Nina for identity theft, who gleefully shared insider trading schemes with Carly and Drew, and who never blinked at orchestrating stock manipulations. Covering for Sonny's murders? Not a problem. Helping Curtis tank Aurora's stock so he could seize control? Routine. If that's the standard of good guy behavior, then Port Charles must be a saint factory. But let's not forget Willow. Saintly schoolteacher? Hardly. She drugged Michael, stalked Daisy, plotted to frame him for shooting Drew, and nearly succeeded in painting him as an addict before her ill-fated wedding. For someone supposedly wearing the moral halo, her track record reads like a rap sheet. And the hypocrisy? Stunning. She branded Michael a deadbeat father while he was in Germany, recovering from being literally set on fire, conveniently ignoring that he had stood by her during her cancer battle. Add an affair with his uncle Drew to the mix, and her indignation begins to look laughable. So, is Michael cruel in his treatment of Willow? Or is it karmic justice from a man finally refusing to be her doormat? The truth is far less dramatic. Michael isn't evil, he's pragmatic. Betrayed by his wife and uncle, burned alive, accused of neglecting his children while clinging to survival, he emerged with a hardened edge. Harsh? Yes. Unjustified? Not exactly. He recognizes that Willow, backed by Drew, would gladly strip him of custody if given the chance. Fighting fire with fire isn't malevolence, it's survival. Critics claim his anger proves he's unraveling. Yet even at his most ruthless, Michael maintains one crucial distinction. He ensures Wiley and Amelia remain connected to family, something Willow consistently failed at. She isolated them from Carly, the Quartermains, Christina, and nearly everyone else simply to appease Drew. By contrast, Michael, for all his scheming, understands that protecting his children doesn't mean cutting them off from their world. None of this makes Michael a hero. He's not noble, nor is he merciful. He's a Quartermain at heart, strategic, layered, and perfectly willing to play dirty. But compared to Willow, who demands sympathy while excusing her own betrayals, Michael's ruthlessness looks almost righteous. Evil? No. A survivor with sharp teeth? Absolutely. And frankly, it's about time he stopped apologizing for it. They're not writing soap stories anymore. They're writing fan fiction with a production budget. Douglas Marland, one of the wisest voices in soap writing, once said, "Don't change a core character. You can give them edges, you can evolve them. But when the audience says, he would never do that, you've failed." If that's the standard, General Hospital hasn't just failed. It's been flunking spectacularly for years. The show's obsession with plot over character has hollowed out its very foundation. What once thrived on moral complexity and emotional continuity has devolved into a parade of inconsistent personalities, nonsensical motivations, and storylines that only exist to prop the next shock twist. Characters who once had backbones, quirks, and human contradictions now swing wildly between being nasty, weak, or utterly unrecognizable. Take Dante Falconeri, once a principled detective with emotional depth. Now he's written as a self-righteous hypocrite who lectures Michael about morality while bending over backward to protect Sonny, the father who turned his life into a case study in ethical compromise. The writers seem to have forgotten that Dante already went through this arc, twice, but repetition, apparently, is their substitute for depth. Then there's Alexis Davis, a character formerly known for intellect and moral conflict. She's now written as a desperate caricature of herself, kidnapping, caving, and collapsing under every bad decision imaginable. Her attempts to protect Christina have morphed from maternal concern into full-blown absurdity. The writers insist on blaming her for everything while conveniently ignoring that most of her trouble originates with other people's idiocy. And the Quartermains, once a dynasty defined by wit, dysfunction, and loyalty, are now a punchline. The idea that the entire family would side against Tracy, the matriarch who practically raised them, stretches past suspension of disbelief into outright parody. Watching them fawn over newcomers while tossing out legacy characters feels like watching a family commit mass amnesia on live television. If there's a masterclass in character assassination, it's Drew Kane. Once compassionate and steady, he's been rewritten into a vindictive sociopath whose motivations make less sense than a daytime time jump. His treatment of Scout and Danny is not merely cruel, it's senseless. There's no buildup, no trauma, no reason. Just a hard pivot from decent man to petty tyrant because the plot apparently required a villain. This isn't complexity, it's laziness. Drew isn't wrestling with morality. He's being written as a prop for other people's stories. His hatred for Michael materialized out of thin air, and his sudden disregard for family reads as if the writers forgot who he was entirely or never cared to begin with. Inconsistency isn't new to GH. The show has always leaned more plot-centric than character-driven, but there used to be a line, one respected even when stories were outrageous. The 1990s and early 2000s honored that balance. Characters evolved, they didn't dissolve. Even when Felicia or Frisco made questionable choices, the show acknowledged it. There was fallout, accountability, emotion. Now, characters do terrible things, and everyone moves on by Tuesday. Modern GH treats continuity like an optional accessory. Elizabeth finds a gun in her house, and it's forgotten. Rick disappears, reappears, flirts, and vanishes again with no consequence. Storylines exist in isolation, allergic to follow-through. The result? Nothing matters. Viewers can't invest in stories when every action is divorced from history and logic. Part of the tragedy is how little we actually know these people anymore. In classic GH, characters had inner lives, hobbies, preferences, personality beyond their latest crisis. Now they're cardboard cutouts who exist to argue, cry, or commit crimes. We know Jason owns a motorcycle. Spinelli likes computers. Beyond that, nothing. The show rarely lets its characters exist as people. They don't laugh, cook, or care about anything beyond the latest plot device. Even the rare glimpses, like a family cheering at a football game or the nurse's ball, feel like fossils from a more human era of the show. Worse still, the show has become actively hostile, both toward its characters and its audience. Every storyline drips with bitterness. Legacy figures like Tracy, Alexis, and Lucky are written as fools or villains, while new characters exist solely to humiliate them. Even when actors deliver powerful performances, the scripts undermine them with vindictive, nonsensical plotting. There's an unmistakable air of contempt for longtime fans. The show punishes viewers for caring about history, rewriting it on a whim, or mocking legacy pairings in favor of whatever chemistry experiment happens to trend that week. From Sunny's transformation into a cartoonish mob caricature to Lucky's return as a deadbeat drifter, the damage is cumulative. Each creative decision chips away at decades of storytelling. The audience isn't opposed to change. Soap fans have weathered recasts, resurrections, and retcons, but change without reason isn't storytelling. It's vandalism. The writers seem convinced that shock value equals engagement. It doesn't. When every character behaves like a stranger, when moral compasses spin like ceiling fans, when loyalty and logic vanish into thin air, all that's left is noise. Douglas Marland's warning should be carved above the GH writer's room door. When the audience says, "He would never do that," you've failed. And that failure has become the show's defining trait. General Hospital has traded its soul for spectacle, its history for hysteria. It no longer builds stories, it detonates them. Once a character-driven drama, it's now a collection of disconnected plots featuring familiar faces who act like total strangers. Fans aren't asking for perfection, they're asking for coherence, for characters who act like themselves, and for stories that mean something. Until that happens, the only thing more consistent than GH's writing will be the viewers turning it off. Nathan isn't acting like a husband or a cop, because he might not be Nathan at all. Port Charles has seen its share of resurrections, but Nathan West's recent reappearance makes even the most ludicrous soap opera twists feel underwritten. Supposedly back from the grave, Nathan has returned with all the fire and complexity of a wet sponge. 7 years have allegedly vanished from his life, yet the man behaves as if he misplaced his keys, not nearly a decade of existence. There's no anger, no outrage, no desperate need for answers, just a shrug and a request to rejoin the police force, as if HR paperwork clears up amnesia and grave exhumations. And about that grave, why exactly has no one bothered to dig it up? There was a body, a literal body. In any normal world, that would raise alarms louder than a Cassadine secret. Instead, Port Charles carries on as if people crawl out of coffins every Tuesday. Theories swirl around what this Nathan really is. A sleeper agent, brainwashed pawn, clone, or worse. The vessel for Cesar Faison's consciousness, conveniently preserved in a jarred brain that the show refuses to stop name-dropping. Helena Cassadine once schemed to upload herself into a clone, and the possibility of Nathan housing Faison's memories is disturbingly on brand. The thought of him morphing into his deranged father, while loathsome, would at least provide narrative tension. Right now, he offers the charisma of damp wallpaper. His behavior is nothing short of bizarre. Instead of running to Maxie, the wife he still supposedly considers his own, or James, the son he's missed growing up, Nathan spends his time loitering around Nina's arraignment. Legally, Maxie remains his wife, which makes him her next of kin, a point the writers appear blissfully unwilling to explore. Perhaps Kirsten Storms' absence forced them to sidestep Maxie entirely, but the result is glaring. A man robbed of years should be clawing for his family, not quietly requesting his old badge back. If Nathan is truly Nathan, then the writers have flattened him into oblivion. A detective with no instinct to question his own resurrection? A husband with no urgency to see his comatose wife? A father who doesn't demand time with his child? The cognitive dissonance is staggering. More likely, this is not Nathan at all. A clone, a mind-controlled puppet, or some grotesque Frankensteinian experiment courtesy of Faison seems far more plausible. The hints are everywhere. His eerie detachment, his eagerness to rejoin the Force, and the show's relentless hammering of Faison's brain-in-a-jar subplot. Soap logic dictates that repeated mentions are breadcrumbs, not filler. Of course, the real tragedy lies with James, who may endure the cruelty of losing his father twice, once to death and again to narrative laziness. The only redeeming hope is a Winter Soldier-style arc. The real Nathan buried under conditioning, struggling to resurface, and eventually restored through Liesel's inevitable scientific tinkering. At least then, the story would salvage both Nathan's humanity and Drew's interminable brain-mapping saga in one tidy sweep. Until then, viewers are left with a hollow shell of a character whose return feels less like a miracle and more like a plot device stapled onto an already overextended storyline. What they don't tell you about Monica's will, and why that relish jar is an insult. General Hospital has never shied away from convoluted plots, but the introduction of Ronnie Bard feels less like narrative brilliance and more like a desperate attempt to justify giving Erica Slizak a few weeks of screen time. Yes, she's a legend. Yes, 6 Emmys. But even Meryl Streep occasionally winds up in a role that makes the audience wince, and Ronnie is shaping up to be exactly that. Let's start with the supposed conflict: Monica's will. Instead of allowing a dignified goodbye, the show has manufactured a nonsensical inheritance battle. Ronnie swoops in like a long-lost pen pal with dubious credentials, and suddenly the Quartermaines, normally conniving, ruthless, and at least entertaining, are reduced to squabbling over teacups and misplaced letters. Monica, who was cunning but never cruel, is now portrayed as someone who would hand her family home to a woman none of her relatives ever met, while giving Tracy a jar of relish. Relish. This is what passes for legacy storytelling? The drugged tea subplot is insultingly clumsy. Tracy, who barely went near Ronnie, is treated as the obvious culprit, while Martin, the man with a history of skipping alimony payments and serving whichever villain happens to pay him, literally strolls in from the direction of the tea service at the exact moment the camera zooms in on Ronnie's cup. If this were subtle, it might pass as suspense. Instead, it plays like a bad high school mystery play. Of course, Martin is the snake here. He always is. The real tragedy is not Ronnie's arrival, but the collateral damage it's doing to characters who actually matter. Olivia turning against Tracy is laughable, considering Tracy once stood by her granddaughter through a teenage pregnancy. Brooke Lynn's betrayal is worse, tossing her grandmother aside without hesitation. It's cruel, lazy writing, stripping the Quartermaines of their loyalty and intelligence just to prop up a plot no one believes in. And let's not forget the practical absurdities. Who exactly is paying the mansion's taxes? Ronnie, a waitress by trade, can't possibly bankroll upkeep on the Quartermaine estate. Even if she is Monica's sister, her only option would be to sell the house immediately, gutting the family legacy the show pretends to be honoring. That's not drama. That's foreclosure paperwork. What makes this mess truly insulting is the way it dishonors Monica's memory. For decades, she was sharp, strategic, and, yes, loyal. She would never engineer a posthumous circus that left Tracy ostracized and her family fractured. If this is the tribute the writers believe Leslie Charleson's character deserves, they may as well have just aired a PowerPoint of Monica's greatest moments and called it a day. The only saving grace has been the sparring between Jane Elliott and Erica Slezak. Two powerhouse actresses trading barbs is always watchable, even if one of them is saddled with a character who feels like a poorly conceived guest star. But no amount of Emmy hardware can hide the fact that Ronnie is a distraction, not a story. So yes, bring in Erica Slezak for legacy casting. Give her gravitas, give her a role that means something. But don't insult viewers by rewriting Monica's legacy into a bizarre soap opera estate scam. The Quartermaines deserve better. Tracy deserves better. And most of all, Monica deserves far more than a jar of relish and this debacle of a storyline. General Hospital spoilers and updates for Wednesday, October 22nd. T's Lois Cerullo shows up, Britt Westbourne has questions, and Nathan West is interrogated. Also, Tracy Quartermaine shares her suspicions, and Ronnie Bard meets with Brooke Lynn Quartermaine Chase at Bobby's. At Sonny Corinthos' place, Lois shows up at the door in an unexpected visit. She asks Sonny if he's going to let her come in, or should she kick rocks. Sonny is one of Lois's oldest friends. They grew up together in Bensonhurst, and she's still on the outs with Brooke Lynn. No doubt she's heard about the outcome of Monica Quartermaine's will reading, and she may be worried about her loved ones who live in the mansion. Sonny will be able to bring her up to date, since both Dante Falconeri and Michael Corinthos still live there. After being kicked out of the Quartermaine mansion by Ronnie, after being accused of slipping her a Mickey, it looks like Tracy's crashing at Lulu Spencer's house. Tracy shares her suspicions with Lulu as she vents. "That woman is hiding something. I know it." Tracy is quite suspicious that the will that was read as Monica's was either altered or completely fraudulent. Nothing will make her believe that Ronnie is anything more than a grifter. She doesn't even believe the years of letters between her and Monica are real. Tracy will not stop until she's proven her suspicions are true, and the Quartermaine mansion is back in Quartermaine hands. In the meantime, Ronnie is meeting with Brooke Lynn at Bobby's, with Gio Palmieri at their table, overlooking the scene as a server. Ronnie is talking about the aftermath of the disaster at the tea party that Brooke Lynn worked so hard to arrange for her. Ronnie is sitting across from Brooke Lynn at a table, and she tells her whatever Tracy gave me. I more than got back at her. Ronnie really told Tracy off, and the tea party guests didn't blame her. Not even Brooke Lynn, Tracy's granddaughter. Tracy verbally attacked Ronnie and quite possibly drugged her, and Ronnie gave back as good as she got. In the meantime, Britt is at Anna Devane's office, and she has some questions. She asks Anna if she has evidence to make that connection. It sounds like Britt is questioning her about a connection to her late father, Cesar Faison's last project. It's plain Britt knows more than she claims about what was going on behind the scenes at Five Poppies, and possibly something about a Port Charles connection. Anna's been asking a lot of questions about Faison's last project and who may be keeping it alive. Britt's questions are likely to find out how much Anna really knows, while playing dumb about what she knows. In the meantime, Nathan is interrogated at the WSB field office by Jack Brennan, and he has similar suspicions to Anna's. He tells Nathan that if he was involved in it, now would be the time to tell him. Brennan, too, has a lot of interest in whatever Faison's last project was, and if his two children back from the dead are connected. Nathan claims not to remember anything from the time his father shot him to when he woke up in his wrecked pickup truck on the outskirts of Port Charles. Yet his DNA and fingerprints were a match to what was on the Port Charles Police Department's records. How will Nathan answer Brennan's questions? This wasn't the visitor anyone was expecting. This was the last person Valentine expected to get a visit from during the October 2025 episode of General Hospital. And now, they're plotting to take down Brennan. Valentine has been a popular inmate in Steinmauer recently. First, he got a visit from his daughter Charlotte, then had a conversation with Brennan about what's being referred to as Faison's final project. But that may be the least of Valentine's worries, now that he received an unexpected visit from his lawyer, Barbara Saunders. The dark-haired woman donned big glasses and requested a private conversation with her client. And that was when Valentine recognized her to be none other than Carly. Viewers may remember the way Carly was last seen asking Spinelli to get her a new identity and passport, and now we know why. A disguised Carly informed Valentine that Brennan betrayed her, and she wanted his help taking him down. When the conversation turned to Jocelyn's new WSB career, Valentine let her know that some agents don't join because they want to, but because they're extorted to. That was when Carly remembered the way Joss left town right after Cyrus, the man behind Dex's death, went missing. Back in Port Charles, Brennan has been hard at work trying to figure out what Faison is doing beyond the grave. He met with Nathan, who wasn't entirely convincing that he knew nothing about his father's project. Many viewers have noticed the newfound evil in Nathan's eyes since he returned, and it's only a matter of time until the truth about where he's been comes out. General Hospital spoilers for October 23rd. Take a more lighthearted turn when Cody meets his new boss at the stables, Ronnie. Cameron Matheson knows it's all about control when it comes to Drew on General Hospital. Cameron Matheson has his work cut out for him as Drew on General Hospital. Power moves and deceit have become the name of the game, and it doesn't appear to be ending anytime soon. His latest antics push him further into needing control, especially with Willow's freedom hanging in the balance. Cameron Matheson's Drew needs someone to help Willow, and he's growing desperate. With Martin unable to help, he turned to what could be seen as a last resort. Things between Alexis and Drew have been less than stellar. He placed restraining orders against her and her girls, Danny and Rocco, barring them from seeing Scout. However, Drew was willing to pull back and allow everyone except Danny to see Scout if Alexis would take the case. It was no coincidence either. While speaking to Soap Opera Digest about the latest scenes between himself and Gran, Matheson said, "It's literally about control. There is not a lot of logic here, but he was trying to control everything." Unfortunately for Drew, he hasn't been able to make friends since he decided to abuse his power and push everyone's buttons. He also mentioned Ed, but he realizes that what is happening to Drew is deserved, but his character still hasn't accepted that what he's done is wrong. Scout and Willow are the only things important to him right now, and his idea of protecting them has isolated them from those who love them. While Willow is behind bars for allegedly shooting Drew, she may not be the actual culprit. Nina recanted her statement and has an alibi for the night, but Willow doesn't. The suspicion is heavily focused on Michael, and he is a strong suspect. He was spotted by Drew's house. The murder weapon was Edward's gun, and he visited Willow before it was found among her belongings. Michael would be the perfect person to do it, but it's a soap, which likely means he didn't. As Drew spirals, it's impossible to predict what could happen next. Alexis has agreed to his terms, but how long will their truce last? General Hospital spoilers are in for Thursday, October 23rd, 2025. In the next episode, fans can expect Christina Corinthos to do some digging. Cody Bell meets with his new boss. Plus, Drew Kane threatens legal action. Keep reading and let's talk about what is coming up in the ABC soap opera. Let's start off with Cody, who will meet his new boss. Tomorrow's episode will feature Cody being officially introduced to Veronica Ronnie Bard. While the stable hand will try to be professional, Ronnie is quite the character. In a preview clip for the next episode, Ronnie laughs as she declares she's always had a weakness for cowboys. Over with Drew, he meets up with Jacinda Breckel. The congressman declares that the next time he sees the police, he's pointing the finger at Jacinda. Judging from the look on Jacinda's face, she knows she's cornered. General Hospital spoilers for Thursday, October 23rd. Reveal that Willow Tate meets with her new attorney. While Drew has promised to do what he can, Willow is now behind bars and fighting to clear her name. At the arraignment, Martin Gray urged the nurse to get a really good criminal attorney. Then, Drew made a deal that Alexis Davis couldn't refuse. If she defends Willow, then Drew will drop the restraining order. This will allow Scout Quartermain to get near her family again, something Alexis and the others have been hoping for. If Drew sticks to his end of the deal, then it would also stop the politician from taking his daughter to D.C. Back to Willow, she seems blindsided and confused by Alexis. That is when the lawyer says, "You don't want my services? Say so now." I really don't think Willow is in a position to say no. As for Michael Corinthos, he has a heart-to-heart with Harrison Chase, The man declares that the detective doesn't know Willow as well as he thinks. There will also be Christina, who does some digging. Plus, Lois Cerullo tells Giovanni, Gio Palmieri, that she's the one who betrayed him. Will this be enough for Gio to forgive Dante Falconeri and Brooklyn Quartermain? Which storyline are you looking forward to seeing the most on Thursday, October 23, 2025? General Hospital spoilers suggest that Carly Spencer could surprise Valentine Cassadine with an unexpected visit at Steinmauer. However, what would be the reason? Well, Carly's PO'd at her boyfriend, and Valentine isn't a fan, so could her goal be to gather intel and an ally for a revenge alliance against Jack Brennan? GH fans may recall that in this week's preview video, a mystery woman who looks a lot like Anna Devane from behind will visit Valentine at the WSB prison. Still, Valentine looks stunned when he sees the visitor, so as he had requested Anna come see him, it seems unlikely that the mystery lady is the police commissioner. However, during the Monday, October 20th episode, Carly called Damian Spinelli and asked for some help gathering documents for a new identity, which included a fake passport and digital trail that could hold up even the most tedious background check. This is after she had a chat with Brennan, and of course, post-bombshell that Jason Morgan dropped about the WSB head recruiting Carly's daughter, Jocelyn Jacks, into the agency. Carly needs to remain quiet about Joss being an agent, for Jocelyn's sake, but fans can tell she's itching to unleash some vengeance toward Brennan for his lies and putting her daughter's life on the line by encouraging her to become a WSB agent. General Hospital spoilers for the fall imply that Valentine will align with an unexpected ally, so Carly approaching him at Steinmauer, asking for intel, and to join forces to bring Brennan down fits this idea to a T. Valentine is rotting in prison for pikeman activities. However, as Charlotte Cassadine recently pointed out, Brennan worked closely with her dad on this, yet Jack is free, but her papa isn't. Valentine has plenty of information that could bring Brennan down, and with a friend like Carly, he could finally strike back at the WSB head for all his past betrayals. Is Carly planning on visiting Valentine in Steinmauer? Comment below. Tune into the ABC Soap Daily for all the drama, and visit this site for all the best General Hospital updates, news, and spoilers. General Hospital spoilers suggest that Veronica Ronnie Bard seems as sweet as they come. But is she too sweet? Tracy Quartermain seems to think so, unlike all the other Quartermains, who adore Monica Quartermain's sister. Still, Tracy seems to think Ronnie is a grifter, so is she a good person, or is she a professional con artist? General Hospital spoilers imply that Ronnie was hesitant about Brooklyn Quartermain Chase's Tea Party suggestion to meet some prominent members of Port Charles. With that said, BLQ was able to finally convince her. But why was Ronnie apprehensive? Someone who has been around the block and is a professional scammer may have seen the Tea Party as something that could ruin the current con she's trying to pull. Somehow, Monica ended up leaving the Quartermain mansion to her long-lost sister, which left Tracy perplexed. Not only because Monica gave it to a non-Q family member, but everyone naturally thought Michael Corinthos would inherit the house. Plus, Monica and Tracy were close during Monica's final years, and as Monica never mentioned Ronnie at all, Tracy smells a rat. Back to the Tea Party, if Ronnie wanted to deflect from herself and potentially set up a scenario where she could boot Tracy out of the house, could she have drugged her own tea? After all, the vibe of the Tea Party changed drastically after Ronnie's drunken outburst, and it then became very easy to accuse Tracy, pick a fight with her, and kick her out of the Q mansion. There's also the possibility that Martin Gray is involved in this. He's either using Ronnie as a pawn in his game, or the two are in cahoots. It's important to remember that Martin was at the Tea Party at one point, so he could have easily slipped something in Ronnie's drink without her knowing and set Tracy up. Then again, he could have passed something to Ronnie to slip into her own tea too. General Hospital spoilers and updates tease. Carly Spencer is taking on a spy versus spy caper to take down Jack Brennan. She'll visit Valentine Cassadine in Steinmauer as a start, after getting a foolproof cover identity from Damian Spinelli. While Valentine told Brennan he wanted to see Anna Devane, it won't be Anna who comes to visit unexpectedly this time, although we're not ruling out a different visit. Anna wants to find out more about the final project that the late Cesar Faison was working on, suspecting it's related to the reappearance of his two presumed dead children. First, Britt Westbourne was spotted by Jason Morgan at an airport overseas, and Anna sent Jason to find her. More mysterious is the connection between Nathan West's recent reappearance, considering he has no memory between being shot and waking up after a truck wreck. Carly may gain some insight into both those situations by speaking to Valentine, but she'll be more interested in exposing Jack with some intel she can take him down with. Jack's reappearance in Port Charles was very mysterious and very surprising. After being in Pentonville Prison for his role in Pikeman's security group, he suddenly reappeared in the WSB field office. Valentine, meanwhile, had gone on the run with Charlotte Cassadine after having run Pikeman for Jack for quite some time. Carly suspects something not so legal had happened behind the scenes that got Jack that job, and Valentine is a perfect source of that information. Needless to say, she already knows Valentine has some serious bones to pick with Jack, blaming him for his ex-assistant Colette Moreau's rogue attack. Valentine will be blindsided seeing Carly in her disguise, complete with a dark black wig. But he won't blow her cover. Carly might even confide in Valentine about Jack's recruitment of Jocelyn Jacks into the WSB and lying about it. Valentine was a WSB spy himself. He understands the importance of secrecy. He and Anna met years ago in WSB spy school, even before she married Robert Scorpio. But Carly and he have common ground. Both have daughters they'd do anything to protect. As Carly is Lulu Spencer's cousin, Jocelyn and Charlotte are cousins too. So Valentine will keep things in the family. Valentine is all in on taking down Jack. He's known him since spy school, since he and Jack and Anna were all in spy school at the same time. Valentine is still angry that Jack forced Anna out of the WSB. Even though they are broken up, he'll do anything to expose him. General Hospital spoilers hint that ADA Justine Turner has become a pivotal part of Port Charles storylines. However, it looks like she's swapping the courtroom theatrics for primetime drama. More details on this below. Contractor has snagged a guest appearance on the primetime show, NCIS. She'll be appearing in the episode titled Gone Girls, playing senior FBI agent Beth Rollins. During the NCIS episode, the team will take a closer look at a case that involves a U.S. Marine accused of kidnapping the wife of a Department of Justice head. The DOJ head happens to be one of the most powerful figures in the department, so it'll be interesting to see how things play out. The show will air on Tuesday, November 4th at 8 p.m. ET on CBS and stream on Paramount+. This isn't the first time Contractor has had a primetime appearance, already working on shows like Law & Order, SVU, Hawaii Five-0, Letterkenny, Criminal Minds, and Charmed. In addition, she's worked on some made-for-television movies and Hallmark Channel flicks. While Contractor is only in a recurring role on GH, she's made quite the impact, especially in Sonny Corinthos' world. The two were on opposite sides of the fence. However, in recent months, they have gotten closer and even become friends. General Hospital fans can sense the two are headed for a romance, but only time will tell. Sonny keeps his circle tight and is always hesitant to allow certain women in his orbit, as he must know he can trust them. With that said, Donnie Corinthos does seem like a fan of ADA Turner's, so there's that for fans to consider. Will you tune in to NCIS on November 4th to catch Nazneen Contractor on the show? Comment below. Catch GH Daily for all the drama, and visit this site for not only the best General Hospital updates, but also the best primetime television spoilers and news around. General Hospital's Scarlet Spears had a wicked secret, and now it's out. The young star will play young Glinda in Wicked, for good, set to hit theaters in 2025. General Hospital star Scarlet Spears, who portrays Donna Corinthos, had a magical secret up her sleeve, and it's finally out. The young actress is joining the cast of Wicked, for good as young Glinda, a role that's sure to make her star shine even brighter when the film hits theaters on November 21st, 2025. Spears, known to GH fans as Donna Corinthos, the beloved daughter of Sonny and Carly, is expanding her career beyond the walls of Port Charles. The young actress will appear in the next chapter of Wicked, the two-part film adaptation of the Tony-winning Broadway musical that explores the untold story of the Witches of Oz. Her team shared the exciting announcement on social media with a glittering caption that read, "We've been keeping a wicked secret." Introducing Scarlett Spears as young Glinda. Wicked, Part 2 will hit theaters on November 21st, 2025. The post tagged @Mrs.Scarlett, Brielle, @RandyBrosen, @CoastToCoast Talent, @Ariana Grande, @Universal Pictures, @Jom Chu, and @The Telsey Office, confirming her official casting in the much-anticipated sequel. Grande also took to Instagram to praise Spears' performance. "My tiny girl in the bubble, played by the wonderful and talented @Miss Scarlett." Brielle, thank you for your beautiful work and for allowing the world to understand our Galinda more deeply than ever before. "Hearts, I adore you so," she wrote. Spears has already proven her on-screen talent in daytime television, but Wicked isn't her first big-screen experience. She previously appeared as young Dora in the live-action Dora and the Search for Sol Dorado movie, where she showcased the same charm and energy that made her a fan favorite on GH. In Wicked, Part 2, Spears will portray a younger version of Glinda, the Good Witch, bringing new depth to the character's backstory and giving audiences a glimpse of how Glinda became the bubbly, ambitious witch fans know and love. Her casting marks an exciting step for the young actress, who continues to demonstrate her range across genres and mediums. Wicked, Part 2 follows the success of Part 1, which premieres November 27, 2024. Directed by John M. Chu, the film star Ariana Grande as Glinda and Cynthia Erivo as Elphaba. The sequel will explore the emotional and political consequences of their choices in Oz, and Spears' portrayal of young Glinda will help fill in the formative pieces of that story. Also coming up on GH, Christina does some digging. Drew threatens legal action, and Chase is taken aback. General Hospital spoilers for Thursday, October 23, 2025. Feature Willow meeting up with her new attorney, while Cody meets up with his new boss. It's time for Willow to meet up with her new attorney, who we know as Alexis, because Father of the Year Drew Kane used his daughter to get Alexis to represent Willow. After all, his only thought in this world is about her. Since paying Alexis all the riches understandably didn't sway the lawyer, he resorted to more personal leverage. Those restraining orders that keep Scout away from her family? Gone. Or should we say, almost gone. Drew refused to tear up Danny's restraining order for vengeance reasons. Ugh! Despite Alexis's contempt for Drew's refusal to let Danny see Scout, she agreed to take Willow's case, which will make Willow happy, considering she was denied bail at her arraignment. As for Drew, now that he has secured a legal eagle for Willow, he can get back to the business of making everybody's life hell. The weekly teasers suggest he threatens legal action. Is this also about Willow? Or does it involve one of his many vendettas? Maybe it has something to do with Sidwell Tiesadine, who is currently giving Drew a taste of his own medicine. Meanwhile, Cody meets his new boss. Presumably, this means Cody and Ronnie connect. After all, Ronnie reminded Tracy that the Quartermain house is now her house, before she kicked Tracy to the curb. Cody is notoriously Team Tracy, so what will the tone of this chat be? Will things remain chill or escalate? In other Port Charles news, Chase is taken aback. Maybe he somehow sees Willow in a new and different light. Lately, he's been a staunch supporter of hers. Would that ever change?